Hello, everybody. I'm Rekha Rao-Mayya. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve as the CEO at Canada Learning Code. We are a not-for-profit charitable organization, and our mission is to bring digital literacy to Canadians from coast to coast to coast. So one very quick show of hands to all those who are in the auditorium. How many of you accessed a smartphone or a digital device today to do something? And I know how everybody online is placed, so no need to raise your hand on that one. I see very, very high raised hands. I'm going to coin a term here, and not anything scientific, not anything approved by any economist. I'm going to call us all digitally privileged. The reason I use the word privilege is because studies have shown that the level of access that you and I and those that are watching from home have is actually quite disproportionate in Canada. There are communities that face disproportionate barriers to the level of access that we have here. Deloitte, Future Skills, and Catalyst have done deep research on this and published a couple of reports, and they've identified some of these communities and groups. And the who's who that you would expect are on it: women, seniors, people with lower income, BIPOC individuals, newcomers to Canada. The groups that are typically equity deserving are also in the demographic of lacking digital access, which further exacerbates the consequences of not having equitable access. So in this report, Deloitte further describes what they mean when they say digital equity. They talk about three things. They say the first is access, the second is participation, the third is ecosystem. Access, you've got a device, awesome. Now, do you have access to the internet, actually? I don't think any of you will be surprised to know that Canada is among the most expensive places for internet access. We're actually second highest rates in the G7, not a ranking that I'm particularly fond of when it comes to ranking. And many times, I would think that, of course, we're a large country. We have very remote provinces, northern communities. Of course, it makes sense that internet access and broadband access is hard and expensive. But my eyes were opened very recently when we worked in our community in Toronto, where Canada Learning Code is serving 19 after-school programs. And the biggest challenge we discovered that our learners had was, one, they didn't have devices, and two, their families actually couldn't afford internet. So we couldn't really do sustainable programming and follow-up. We couldn't really teach them how to code because they didn't have devices. We solved that problem, but it's a little bit of a Band-Aid, honestly. The second piece is participation. Participation is, do you have the skills to participate or not? If you look at Stats Canada data, they have forecasted that by 2050, 80% of the jobs in Canada will require some degree of STEM knowledge or technical skilling. Now, many of the jobs that will be lost or will be redefined in terms of the future are jobs that are today held by women and newcomers to Canada, as well as racialized individuals. So if we have to keep them in the workforce, which we do, we are not a very large country, we need everyone who can work to work. If we have to keep them in the workforce, we do in fact have to provide them with the skills. The third piece is the ecosystem, which is the safeguards that we need. So when generative AI arrives, and arriving it is, the systems that are in place, such as our education systems, actually know what to do with it instead of being paralyzed by fear. So you're sitting here, you're sitting at home, you're thinking, okay, what do I do as an individual? There are some small things that we all can do. You can support programs that take used laptops and devices and repurpose them and give them to people who need. You can actually go and talk to your schools, local schools, and ask them whether computer science and computational thinking is a part of their curriculum. You'll be shocked to know that not all provinces have this as a part of their curriculum, and almost 90% of our educators were not formally trained in delivering these type of things. You could also come and volunteer with organizations such as Canada Learning Code or many others. There are organizations like the Indigenous Friends Association and PINGWAC, where as a not-for-profit, we go and we work with communities that need the access, and we teach them through access, participation, and the ecosystem. I know that for the longest time, we have been an economy that has been fueled through non-renewable resources. It is time for us to start using our most sustainable resources, which are our people. And in order to do that, we do have to lean in. We do have to provide them with the ability, the capability, and the safeguards that they need to actually meaningfully participate, more importantly, to prosper in the digital economy. And that's why I say that we are privileged. Let's convert that privilege into a right. Every person in Canada needs to have digital equity, which is a fundamental right, shouldn't be a privilege. Thank you very much.